Before men named mountains and charted waters, before languages invented words and doctrines determined what should be worshipped, there was only vastness, a nameless, formless, boundless vastness. And at its center, a soundless whisper, I am. It was an ancient murmur, not spoken by human lips or heard by human ears, but felt as a primordial vibration in the marrow of all creation. It was the breath before the wind, the spark before the fire, the seed before the earth. I am dot. That was what the eternal consciousness called itself, not out of vanity, but because there was no other word that contained its infinity. When the seeker Moses, that desert traveler yearning for answers amidst the burning bushes, dared to ask the name of what is, the answer was not a title, nor a position, nor a lineage. It was a naked affirmation, a flame that needed no fuel to burn. I am who I am. Not a name, but a perpetual condition, a declaration of presence, of conscious existence, of eternal becoming. Since that day, though men have carved names in stone and written genealogies on scrolls, no appellation has held more power than those two words. For they don't describe something, they create it. They don't reflect a state, they command it. Every time someone silently utters, I am, the universe listens, and life bends to obey. The ancient secret the sages preserved was neither superstition nor ritual, but knowledge of the very fabric of existence. The word becomes flesh, and the flesh speaks its word. All creation begins with the affirmation of being. The invisible garden of declarations. Every morning, when eyes open and breath fills the lungs again, every human being crosses an invisible threshold and plants seeds in a garden they cannot see. These seeds are not grains of wheat or vine shoots, but words. And of all, the most fertile and dangerous are those that follow, I am. Each phrase is a decree, an order that your spirit obeys, that your body reproduces, and that the entire universe accepts as a commandment. And so, unknowingly, many build their destiny on the materials of doubt, fear, and resignation. If someone says, I am fragile, their mind will seek to confirm it, their environment will adjust to corroborate it, and their spirit will huddle in the shadows of that word. This isn't empty poetry or naive optimism. It's the law. Just as an apple seed won't produce pomegranates, an affirmation of weakness can't produce strength. The fertile soil of conscience receives without judgment what is offered to it. You are the gardener and king, the sower and harvester of your destiny. Since the dawn of time, the wise have taught that to know something's true, name is to have power over it. But the greatest of all names is the one you repeat without realizing it. I am. It's not about the labels others impose on you, son, husband, traveler, teacher, but about what you proclaim about yourself in the privacy of your heart. That is the voice that shapes the clay of your existence. And here's the miracle and the trap. Anything you follow from those two words becomes the magnifying glass through which you perceive the world. If you say I am unlucky, life will show you 1,000 reasons to confirm it. If you proclaim I am fortunate, life itself will become a festival of opportunities. The ancients knew that words create, and that's why they guarded their statements like a sacred jewel. For carelessness is followed by misfortune, and a well-intentioned word is followed by a miracle. Even modern science, with its diagrams, microscopes, and laboratories, has begun to intuit what the ancient shamans whispered in the caves. The human mind, with its electric dance, seeks to confirm what it believes. It affirms, I am weak, and the senses become guardians of that truth. It changes to, I am capable, and the same senses begin to point out previously hidden paths. The brain acts like a faithful servant, sifting through millions of stimuli to find evidence of what you declare. I am poor. It will find 1,000 evidences of lack. I am abundant. Suddenly, the paths open like a flower in spring. It's not magic. It's the architecture of consciousness. Most people go through life signing invisible contracts, tacit agreements with misfortune, without reading the terms of their language. They declare, "I am late. I am clumsy. I am incapable." And existence, like a faithful scribe, takes note and fulfills them. But it only takes a moment of awareness, a moment of lucidity, to break those pacts and write new ones. Because each word is a brick in the house where you will live tomorrow. Stop. Observe. What are you proclaiming without knowing it? What reality are you constructing by repeating your "I am" statements? Don't inherit the words of your past. Speak the ones that shape your future. This journey that now begins is not simply an intellectual apprenticeship, but a return to the center of your own being. It is an ancient initiation disguised as modernity, a reminder that you are author and character, brush and canvas, word and echo. Take a deep breath and say with a firm voice, without fear or arrogance, "I am awakened consciousness. I am the author of my destiny. I am what decides to be." And the universe, always attentive, will respond silently. So be it. Before continuing with the video, if you want to read "I Am Who I Am: The Power of I Am," I recommend you watch the first link in the description. Chapter 1. The Name Before Names. Before the earth knew names, before the stars were numbered and men wove doctrines to try to contain the uncontainable, there existed a single certainty floating in the immense void: being. No word could capture it, no tongue dared to name it, for that which simply is without form or limit. At the heart of that mystery lay a silent vibration, a declaration without word or adjective, a pure presence that murmured in the gloom of eternity. I am. From the Chaldean sages to the monks who still chant at dawn, from hidden manuscripts to the quantum formulas of the present, one truth remains unchanged. The consciousness of identity is creative. It's not about waiting to become something. It's about proclaiming it, declaring it into space, and allowing the invisible fibers of the universe to arrange themselves around that certainty. Every transformation, every miracle, every tragedy begins with those two words. Before effort, before action, before fear, an "I am" is spoken. And it is in that instant that the thread of reality begins to unravel, obedient to those who know they are the architects of their own destiny. Understanding this is not only a philosophical act, but a spiritual awakening. The very air that caresses the trees is transformed when you decide to call yourself free, abundant, or loved. The entire universe, which doesn't respond to your pleas, does bow to your affirmations. And it's not childish magic or inherited superstition, but the most ancient of laws, recorded in papyrus and particles. Identity precedes matter. Your reality isn't made of desires, but of declarations. Because wanting is a whisper. I am is a thunderclap that shakes the earth. Ancient cultures understood this and jealously guarded the mystery of the sacred name. Not because they feared its pronunciation, but because they knew that to name without awareness is to create without direction. Every time you pronounce I am, whether you do so out of reluctance or euphoria, you are molding the clay of your existence. The words that follow are the invisible bricks with which you build your world. Even now, the science of the invisible, which some call neuroscience and others the quantum field, is beginning to uncover what the ancients already intuited. Your perception selects the reality you experience. The filter through which you view your life adjusts to the ideas you hold about yourself. If you decide to say to yourself, "I am unlucky," your mind will scan for evidence, your environment will be shaped, and your days will be tinged with the color of that affirmation. If you decide to declare, "I am worthy," little by little, the doors that seemed sealed will begin to give way. Therefore, This book is not a simple treatise or a salon philosophy. It is an initiation, a call to the inner traveler you have forgotten to be, an invitation to transform every word into a ritual, every thought into a sacred ceremony. Because if you don't name yourself, others will do so in your place, and they will drag you into living in names you didn't choose. Today, I ask you to inhale, close your eyes, and pronounce with the inner voice that transcends the flesh. I am. Without adding anything yet, without embellishing it, just that. I am. Remain in that silence. Discover how everything around you, the noise of the city, the distant song of a bird, the memory of an old love, organizes around that declaration. Because by saying it, you don't just affirm what you are. You affirm your right to be. You reclaim your power to name yourself. At the end of this journey, you will no longer pronounce those words carelessly. Every time you declare an I am, you will do so like someone carving a symbol in rock, knowing that each affirmation is a key and each negation a chain. And you will understand that the I am is not a passing description, but a command to the universe, a sacred dance between word and matter. Chapter 2. The Law of Decree. What you name exists. There are laws that don't need to be written down to govern existence. Ancient laws like the whisper of the wind in the trees or the hidden rhythm of the tides. Laws that never rest, that don't require witnesses or ask permission to act. Among them all, there is one that holds the invisible threads of creation together, the law of decree. Everything that has been, is, and will be, was born from a word spoken or thought. The universe itself, in its unfathomable mystery, did not emerge from a chance act or a senseless accident. It was spoken from the void. The first vibration, the original sound, rose in the silence like an eternal decree. Let there be light. And there was light. Not because anyone wished it, but because it was named. To understand this law is to understand the art of conscious creation. The decree is not a plea, not a fragile longing awaiting an answer. It is an affirmation that gives form to the formless, a command uttered from the inner certainty that every word carries within it the seed of its manifestation. Everything you think and say, consciously or unconsciously, becomes a decree. Every phrase charged with emotion and conviction is inscribed in the invisible and begins to develop like a seed that sooner or later will seek to sprout in the material world. The problem with humankind has not been their lack of power, but their forgetfulness of this law. We have decreed from fear, from lack, from the unconscious habit of naming our limitations as if they were eternal. I am poor. I am weak. I am incapable, we repeat like daily litanies, unaware that the universe listens and obeys. Because the energy that sustains life doesn't distinguish between what's beneficial and what's harmful. It only responds. It responds to the vibration, the intention, the silent tone with which you accompany each word. Just as the earth doesn't judge the seed it receives, but rather nourishes it, so too does the quantum field of existence nourish every affirmation. Therefore, the wise man measures his words, and the fool drowns in his own words. The wise man is not afraid to acknowledge his greatness, because he knows there is no pride in acknowledging the divine spark that dwells within him. And he remains silent when necessary, because he understands that every word carries weight, every statement is destiny. When you say, I am, as you learned in the first chapter, you give life to a force that projects itself outward into all that exists. But it's what follows those words that determines your experience. If you place a shadow behind them, there will be a shadow. If you place light, light will come. Herein lies the subtle and powerful difference between desire and decree. Desire waits. Decree commands. Desire feels small before the universe. Decree knows itself to be one with it. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. Many believe that decreeing is simply repeating phrases, like someone reciting a formula expecting results. But true decreeing is born from an inner state, from a silent conviction, from a certainty that springs not from a troubled mind, but from a calm heart. It's a word that vibrates with the same frequency as certainty. I am abundant. Don't say it to convince yourself, or to hide your fear, or as if you're throwing words to the wind. Say, I am abundant, because you recognize that abundance is your nature, even if you don't yet see its material reflection. Because the moment you affirm it from within, the decree begins to weave its threads. The visible world is always a belated reflection of what is decreed in the invisible. Words are stones thrown into the still lake of the spirit. Sooner or later, the ripples will reach the shore of your experience. Therefore, don't be afraid to decree greatness, health, peace, love, abundance. They are yours by cosmic birthright. And even more, never decree your misery, your weakness, or your impotence, for every affirmation made with emotion is law for you. Choose your decrees carefully. Speak like one who knows he is the architect of his universe. And if you have ever spoken words without conscience, do not torment yourself. Every decree can be reversed by a higher one. Darkness cannot be fought. It dissolves before the light. Every morning, before the world invades your senses, sit in silence and say, not in haste, but as one awakens to his own eternity, I am eternal life. I am perfect health. I am unlimited abundance. I am the peace that transcends all understanding. And don't say it to seek an immediate effect. Do it to remember who you are, to align yourself with the higher order, to establish your place in the eternal concert of what is. The law of decree is law, because it admits no exceptions. It always works. The question is whether you decree from consciousness or unconsciousness, from certainty or fear, from creation or from automatic repetition. The word is sacred, and you, the bearer of that gift, have the privilege and responsibility to name your world. Do it with love, with wisdom, with respect for the power that lies in every syllable that flows from you. Because everything you name exists. Chapter 3. The vibration of thought, the first cause. Before the word becomes sound, even before the decree takes the form of a verb, there exists a sacred instant where everything is born. Thought. Invisible, silent, ethereal, but more real than stone and steel. Because everything visible is but an echo of what at some point first vibrated in the invisible. Thought is the primordial seed. It is the first cause, the root of speech, the matrix of emotion, and the seed of action. No event has ever occurred without first being conceived in that invisible space where the soul converses with the eternal. The entire universe is mind in motion, a great consciousness that thinks and, by thinking, creates. And within that consciousness moves your own mind, not as a separate entity, but as an extension of that single source. What you think does not dissolve into nothingness. It vibrates, breathes, adheres to the subtle currents of the ether, and seeks its reflection. Every thought carries with it a frequency, a vibration that resonates with others of its kind. Thoughts of abundance attract currents of prosperity. Thoughts of love attract currents of tenderness and fulfillment. Thoughts of fear attract waves of shadows that cling to the invisible pores of the soul. There is no such thing as neutral thought. Each thought is a cause in motion. Every idea launched into the mental space finds its correspondence. Because the universe is not arbitrary, but a perfect network of vibrational correspondences. When you think, you emit. When you think, you call. When you think, you align yourself with that which matches your frequency. It is not chance that decides your destiny, but the vibrations that, consciously or unconsciously, you have held in the secret sanctuary of your mind. The wise man knows this and guards his thoughts like someone who guards a sacred garden. He doesn't allow weeds of fear or despair to take root. Not because he's immune to them, but because he's learned to recognize them and diffuse them before they take hold. Thought is creative because it is vibration, and vibration is law. Everything that vibrates seeks manifestation. Every sustained thought finds a channel through which to precipitate itself into existence. Therefore, whoever entertains thoughts of scarcity, no matter how much they yearn for wealth, will always attract circumstances of lack. Because it is the inner vibration that determines the form. Every morning, the universe unfolds like a blank page, and your every thought draws upon it the contours of what will be. Even if you don't see immediate results, even if the visible seems to resist, vibration works on invisible planes, weaving causes that, sooner or later, precipitate into matter. The mistake has been assuming that it's enough to think sporadically about what you desire. But true art lies in sustaining, in persisting, in inhabiting the state of mind of what you wish to experience, even before seeing its reflection. Because in the metaphysical world, you don't receive what you want, but what you are able to vibrate constantly. Thought is a current, and you can choose which one you wish to navigate. There are thoughts that uplift, clarify, and renew. And there are thoughts that weaken, bind, and obscure. Both are available, like rivers waiting to be navigated. But it is the awakened consciousness that chooses which channel to follow. It's not about repressing dark thoughts, but about transcending them, acknowledging them without feeding them, observing them without identifying with them, letting them pass, like clouds passing through a sky that remains untouched. And just as one chooses a wise word before speaking, one chooses a pure thought before letting it dwell too long in one's inner dwelling. For every thought harbored becomes a word. Every word becomes a decree. Every decree becomes destiny. Thought is living energy. It clings to forms, permeates spaces, and intertwines with other similar vibrations. It's like a seed thrown to the wind, whose fate depends on the soil where it falls and the care with which it is cultivated. Therefore, anyone who wishes to transform their existence must begin not with external actions, but with internal currents, with the thoughts they hold upon waking, those they cradle while sleeping, those they silently nurture as daily life goes on. True spiritual work is not in rituals or words spoken aloud, but in the thoughts you choose to inhabit. Just as a musician tunes his instrument before playing, tune your thoughts before making a decree. Because it's useless to proclaim abundance if deep down you think of lack. No affirmation prevails over a more strongly held contrary thought. The alignment is total, or it isn't. Think then about what you wish to see manifested. Think about health, beauty, balance, and wholeness, not as someone fantasizing, but as someone remembering a forgotten truth, not to deceive yourself, but to restore the natural order of things. Every elevated thought not only transforms your personal existence, but also contributes to raising the vibration of the whole. Because in this vast invisible fabric, every thought unites with other similar thoughts, and together they form the psychic atmosphere of humanity. Never underestimate the power of a pure thought, a luminous idea, a vibration of love sustained in the midst of the storm. Because it's those thoughts that keep the light alive when the world seems to be darkening. Every moment is a choice. Every thought is an opportunity to create. And the universe, which never sleeps, waits. Chapter 4. The Hidden Power of the Word. The Second Cause. After thought comes the word, not as a mere articulated sound, but as a sacred act. Since ancient times, the wise have understood that the word is not a simple vehicle of expression, but a living force that shapes the invisible ocean of existence. Every spoken word vibrates in space, leaving its mark on the subtle currents of the ether. What is said does not disappear. It remains suspended on invisible planes, multiplying in echoes that sooner or later return to their origin. because everything emitted in this vast network of vibrations returns to its source, transfigured into experience. To speak is to create, and the verb itself has a governing force that shapes the invisible substance of reality. Therefore, words spoken with awareness become decrees. They are keys that open or close paths, seeds that fertilize destinies. Ancient cultures knew this. They didn't pronounce the name of the sacred without pure intention. They didn't name illness without understanding that doing so was calling it. They didn't say poverty without knowing that invoking it. They wove a vibration that could materialize. A hidden power resides in the word, because what is named exists. What is stated is activated, and what is repeated is strengthened. Whoever speaks of scarcity attracts scarcity. Whoever proclaims its ruin establishes an invisible alliance with the forces that sustain it. Just as whoever blesses, he summons blessing. Because words are not neutral, and whoever utters them, whether they like it or not, performs an act of magic. Every word is an affirmation, even if it is sometimes in a negative form. To say "I can't" is to affirm the impossible. To proclaim "there isn't" is to establish a lack. Therefore, vigilance over words is the task of the awakened soul. Before speaking, it is important to remember that what is said shapes what is experienced. That every word, spoken inwardly or outwardly, vibrates in the invisible matrix of existence, attracting its like. True silence is not the absence of sound, but the absence of discordant vibrations. Silence is not ceasing to speak, but refraining from uttering words that obscure the path. The verb spoken with awareness is a creative word. It is a luminous affirmation. It is a divine decree in the human mouth. Therefore, bless. Proclaim goodness, even in the midst of a storm. Speak words of abundance, even when appearances suggest otherwise. For appearances are like smoke, and words are like fire. To affirm is to exercise sovereignty over the invisible world. It is to write into the subtle substance of the universe the forms that will manifest. The mistake many make has been to pronounce mechanical words, repeat empty phrases, thinking that it is enough to say things without feeling, without vibrating, without holding thought and emotion in harmony with what is said. But the power of words lies not only in their utterance, but in their vibration, in their correspondence with the thought that originates them and the emotion that accompanies them. When thought, word, and emotion align, a creative act of unstoppable power is unleashed. Therefore, before speaking, listen to what you think, and before thinking, feel from where you're thinking. Because words cannot be pure if thoughts are cloudy, and thoughts cannot be clear if emotions are obscure. Every affirmation is a seed. Every word spoken with intention is a command received by the universe. Speak then, as one who knows the power he wields. Don't utter words out of habit. Don't use your tongue like someone throwing stones into the void, because nothing is lost, and everything returns. There are words that heal, and words that wound, words that open, and words that close, words that illuminate, and words that darken, and each of them establishes a pact with the invisible forces that sustain it. Therefore, if you want to transform your world, begin by transforming your words. Let only words that edify, uplift, and bless flow from your mouth. Even if apparent reality resists, maintain the decree, because it is not the appearance that transforms the word, but the word that transforms the appearance. The word spoken with faith, sustained by pure thought, and vibrated with elevated emotion, has the power to open paths where there was once desert, to illuminate paths in the midst of fog, to break invisible chains. Every morning, decree with awareness. Every night, purify your word. Let no word of yours invoke that which you do not wish to see. And when doubt arises, remain silent. Because even silence is preferable to empty words. Remember that the universe is a perfect mirror, that reflects not only what you think and feel, but also what you name. And by naming, you call. Call then to abundance, to health, to fullness, not as one who begs, but as one who remembers a forgotten law. Because you don't ask, you decree. You don't beg, you command. You don't doubt, you proclaim. The word in you is sacred. Do not surrender it to frivolity or habit. Do not use it against yourself. Speak as one who knows that every word is a creative act. And then, everything around you will begin to fall into place, because the universe always obeys the language of one who has remembered its power. Before continuing with the video, if you want to read I Am Who I Am, The Power of I Am, I recommend you watch the first link in the description. Chapter 5. The Invisible Art of Feeling. The Third Cause. After thought and word, there arises an even more subtle and decisive force, emotion. That which vibrates in the invisible recesses of the soul, that which is not always expressed, but which is breathed, radiated, sown in the intangible field where realities are gestated. Emotion is not a mere accident of the soul. It is a living energy that connects human beings to the universal forces that surround them. Every emotion is a frequency, and each frequency attracts its equal. It's not a metaphor, it's a law. Where thought is the seed and the word the decree, emotion is the water that fertilizes or withers. Because it's not enough to think and say, it's necessary to feel. And not in any way, but in harmony with what is thought and spoken. The mistake of many has been to proclaim words of prosperity with their mouths, while the anguish of want lurks in their chests. To decree health, while the fear of illness chokes their hearts. To desire love, while resentment keeps the doors of their hearts closed. The universe receives not only what is said, but also what is vibrated. It is not enough to affirm, I am abundant, if in intimate silence one perceives the echo of scarcity. Sincere emotion is the true witness of intention. It is the energetic signature that validates or invalidates thoughts and words. Every emotion is a message sent to the invisible plane, an impulse that rises and returns, multiplied in the form of experiences. Therefore, it is necessary to understand them, recognize them, and, when necessary, transmute them. Feeling is a forgotten art. Most people have learned to repress, hide, and disguise emotions as shameful shadows. And in doing so, they stagnate, corrupt, and generate chaotic forms that sooner or later manifest as illness, conflict, or emptiness. But emotion isn't an enemy. It's an ally. It's a compass. It's a teacher. You just have to learn to look at it, listen to it, and guide it, like someone who knows that every current can overflow or irrigate, depending on the hand that guides it. When emotion aligns with thought and word, it becomes a luminous river that carries intention to the invisible matrix where forms take shape. It is then that the decree becomes invincible, when thought becomes matter, and word becomes reality. Therefore, it's not enough to wish. You have to feel your wish fulfilled. It's not enough to affirm it. You have to be moved by the certainty that it already exists. It's not enough to imagine. You have to vibrate at the frequency of what you're invoking. Emotions are beacons that illuminate or obscure the path. Feeling gratitude attracts more reasons to be thankful. Feeling peace summons calm. Feeling abundance opens unexpected doors. Just as fear attracts what is feared, guilt perpetuates punishment, and hopelessness sows emptiness. Every day, observe your emotions. Ask yourself not only what you think or what you say, but from where you do it. Because sometimes the word is right, but the emotion negates it. Sometimes the thought is clear, but the emotion sabotages it. Remember, what is manifested is not what is desired, but what is felt to be true. If you want to transform your world, start by inhabiting elevated emotions. Don't wait for reasons to feel peace. Feel it. Don't wait for abundance to arrive to feel it. Experience it. Because emotion doesn't depend on circumstance, but on consciousness. When a human being understands this, he or she stops being a slave to events and becomes the architect of his or her destiny. He or she stops reacting and begins creating. Because he or she no longer waits for something external to awaken the right emotion, but rather cultivates the appropriate emotion to attract the event that best suits him or her. Emotional alchemy is the ability to transform internal vibrations. It is the ability to transform fear into prudence, sadness into introspection, anger into creative strength, doubt into searching, solitude into fertile silence. It's not about denying dense emotions, but rather about recognizing and transmuting them. Because every emotion carries with it a message, an opportunity, a lesson. But dwelling on them longer than necessary is losing your bearings. Just as a traveler should not sleep at every station, neither should the soul dwell in emotions that obscure its horizon. Choose your emotions then, like someone selecting a seed to sow. For where you dwell internally will become your external experience. When you wake up, sow gratitude. When you walk, breathe peace. When you speak, vibrate joy. When you remain silent, cultivate trust. And every night, cleanse your emotional field like someone who cleans their house before going to sleep. May no foreign emotion invade your temple. May no shadow remain ununderstood and transmuted. Because every unrecognized emotion becomes an unwanted guest that consumes vital energy. Learn to live from serene joy, from silent certainty, from impersonal love that neither demands nor demands, but understands and liberates. Thus, thought, word, and emotion will become the three pillars of your inner temple. And from there, everything created will bear your luminous signature, because you will have remembered that true power lies not in things, but in the invisible art of feeling. Chapter 6. Action as an invisible bridge. Behind the thought that germinates in silence, the word that resonates in the air, and the emotion that vibrates in the center of the chest, lies a cause that gives form to the invisible desire. Action. Not as a simple physical movement, but as a sacred act that translates the invisible into the visible, the immaterial into matter. Acting isn't just doing. It's a conscious gesture, a movement that carries with it intention, the spoken word, and the felt emotion. It's the offering the soul makes to life, so that what beats within it may be reflected in form. The seeker's mistake is to believe that it is enough to think, to affirm, to feel. That manifestation is consummated on the subtle planes, forgetting that the earth demands its tribute, that the visible world demands the coherence of an act. Because without action, every thought vanishes like smoke, every word remains an echo, and every emotion dissolves in the wind. Action is the bridge between heaven and earth. It is the material affirmation of belief in what has been decreed. Those who act affirm with their actions that they trust in the power of their intention. Those who act confirm to the universe their willingness to receive. But not just any action is enough. It's not about running aimlessly in all directions. Sacred action is that which is born from inner alignment, when thought, word, and emotion merge in a single purpose. Action then becomes the vehicle that transports intention to the plane of tangible experience. There are those who decree abundance, feel abundance, but their actions are of scarcity. There are those who proclaim health, vibrate with well-being, but their bodies are inhabited by habits that make them ill. There are those who speak of love, are moved by the idea of love, but their actions are of fear and control. Every action speaks the true language of faith, because those who truly believe in abundance act from a place of generosity. Those who truly believe in health act from a place of loving care. Those who truly believe in love act from a place of freedom. Action without coherence is a betrayal of one's own spirit. Therefore, true manifestation requires the courage to act in accordance with what one thinks says, and feels. It's easy to talk about prosperity, but it takes courage to invest, to share, to open oneself to the new. There is no manifestation without action. The field may be fertile, the seed may be noble, the rain may have fallen, but if no one reaps the harvest, the fruit rots in the ground. This is what happens with missed opportunities, with unheeded calls, with ignored signs. Action is the humble act of touching the earth after having looked up at the sky. It is bowing before life and saying, "I am ready, here I am," willing to receive what is already mine in the invisible realms. Because it's not the action that creates the miracle, but the action that allows it to be received. What is created in the subtle needs a hand to grasp it, a word to invoke it, and a body to manifest it. Every manifestation is revealed when external movement accompanies the internal dance. When the steps taken in matter confirm the decrees pronounced in the spirit. That is when the miracle ceases to be a possibility and becomes a presence. Learn to move when intuition whispers, to take the step when certainty emerges, to act from love, not fear. Because those who act out of fear only build walls. Those who act out of lack only sow emptiness. Sacred action is one that doesn't wait for approval or reassurance, because it trusts that the invisible has already responded. It's the courageous gesture of the sower who buries the seed without knowing what the harvest will be like, but with the certainty that it will come. Every day, ask yourself, do my actions speak the language of my intention? Do what I do honor what I think, what I say, and what I feel? Because imbalance arises when words and emotions say one thing, and actions manifest another. And if you discover that inconsistency, don't condemn yourself, just adjust it. Correct the direction, recognize the cause, and remember that no decree, no emotion, no matter how lofty, can make up for the absence of right action. Action, when it's coherent, is silent prayer. It's a living affirmation. It's a decree in motion. It's gratitude in anticipation. It's faith clothed in the flesh. Don't wait for perfect conditions to move, because the universe responds to brave action, not to eternal waiting, not to doubt disguised as prudence. Move from where you are, with what you have. Take the step that corresponds to you, without demanding to know the next one. Thus, action becomes a sacred ritual, a tangible affirmation of the abundance, love, health, and peace that already dwell within you. And with each gesture, however small, you open invisible pathways, awaken dormant forces, and place yourself on the wavelength of that which is already yours by right of conscience. Let every action you undertake be a reflection of your highest thought, your most luminous word, and your purest emotion. Then, manifestation will be inevitable, because you will have understood that true power lies not in ideas, but in their embodiment. Because thinking, speaking, and feeling are the cradle of the miracle, but acting is opening the door to it. Chapter 7. The Faith that Sustains the Invisible. There comes a moment in every process of manifestation when reason falls silent and certainty becomes silent. A moment when logic fails to explain what the heart knows. It is there that faith is born, not as an imposed belief or as consolation for those who fear, but as the absolute certainty that the invisible precedes the visible, that the internal world creates the external, and that what cannot be seen is, in fact, more real than anything tangible. Faith is not hope, for he who waits still doubts. Faith is possession in advance. It is walking as if it already exists, feeling as if it already dwells within, giving thanks as if life has already been granted. It is the inner stillness that does not negotiate with appearances, that is not disturbed by delay, that does not yield to the noise of the contrary. And yet, how often does the seeker lose his way in the mirrors of the world, allowing the appearance of scarcity to rob him of the certainty of his abundance? allowing the absence of signs to make him forget the seed already sown. Because manifestation is not always immediate, and the impatient mind demands proof. But those who have understood the art of creating with the Spirit know that the apparent delay is only an interval in linear time, and that the decree has already been granted at the very moment it originated on the invisible plane. Faith is the sacred fire that keeps the flame alive when the wind blows against it. It is maintaining one's vision intact, even when everything seems to darken. It is looking at the vacant lot and seeing the garden in bloom. It is listening to the silence and hearing the symphony yet to be composed. There is a faith that is spoken with the lips and another that is engraved in the spirit. The first fluctuates with circumstances. The second remains unchanged. It is what sustains the soul in the darkest night and what allows the traveler to smile when the horizon seems far away. Without faith, every decree weakens, because doubt is a subtle poison that erodes the foundations of desire. A single crack in certainty is enough to delay manifestation, because the universe responds not to spoken words, but to heartfelt conviction. Authentic faith needs no signs. It demands no demonstrations. It doesn't condition its certainty on evidence. It is knowing without proof, seeing without eyes, hearing without ears, touching without hands. It is the confidence of the seed that, buried in darkness, knows it will sprout without needing to see the sun. Faith is not passive. It is not resignation. It is an active state of the soul, a vibration that remains steadfast even in the midst of chaos. For those who have drunk from their inner certainty can walk on troubled waters without sinking. They can sustain their vision without fatigue, knowing that time is no obstacle to the eternal. Every miracle is built on faith. No matter how noble the thought, how lofty the word, how intense the emotion, how righteous the action. If faith is lacking, the chain breaks. Because faith is the mortar that binds the planes together, the invisible thread that sews the worlds together, the bridge that allows the spirit to cross into matter. It is not a blind faith, as has been said. It is a lucid faith, born from the recognition of universal laws. Whoever understands that every effect has a cause, that every decree generates a response, that every thought creates a form, no longer needs external proof. They know that manifestation is law, and that the decree made in harmony with it is irreversible. When faith dwells within you, everything takes on a different tone. Waiting becomes serene, adversity is transformed into a lesson, and apparent lack is revealed as a necessary transition. You no longer fear losing, because you know that nothing true can escape you. You no longer suffer from delay, because you understand that everything arrives in its perfect time. Faith is a silent pact with the eternal. It is the certainty that the universe conspires in favor of those who walk in coherence with their purpose. It is trusting even when the mind doesn't understand, when the world points out otherwise, when everything seems to fade away. And it is there, in that instant, when everything seems to fall apart, that faith reveals its fullest strength. Because when nothing remains but inner certainty, the soul becomes its own temple. And then the miracle happens, not because circumstances change, but because the vibration of the spirit has changed, and with it, all of reality folds. Faith is the final key. It's the voice that, even in the longest night, whispers, "Keep walking." It's the inner beacon that never goes out. Faith doesn't cry out. It doesn't demand. It doesn't beg. It simply knows. Thus, anyone who wishes to manifest cannot ignore this ultimate cause. They must nurture their faith like a fragile flame until it becomes an inextinguishable bonfire. And every day, upon waking, before uttering a word, they must remember that what they believe is what they create, and that everything else is a passing illusion. Because at the end of every process, at the root of every miracle, there is a faith that sustains it. Chapter 8. the action that transcends form. The universe responds to those who act with the certainty of what already exists, not to those who seek what they do not yet possess. Action is not the attempt to achieve what is desired, but the expression of an identity already achieved. In every movement, life reveals itself not as a search, but as a creation. Action is the language of being. It is the echo of the declaration "I am" in the physical world. It is not about striving to obtain, but rather allowing what already is to manifest through you. In this sense, true action is not an effort, but a surrender to the flow of being, a surrender to the cosmic dance that invites the being to express its essence in the world. When you act from the understanding that "I am" is the key to everything, every step you take is an act of faith. It doesn't matter how insignificant the gesture seems, or how small the action seems, because what moves the universe is not the size of what you do, but the depth with which you do it. It is the intention with which you place a foot on the path, the soul that steps into the uncertain without fear, trusting in the direction toward which it is guided. The movement of the universe is vast and silent. Within it, everything moves without haste, without noise. It is the river that flows without worrying about its destination, the seed that grows without resistance to the earth. In the same way, your action must be effortless, without conflict. It is in total surrender to your identity that you find true strength, which does not seek immediate results, but understands that everything in creation follows its own rhythm. Human beings, in their need to control, have lost touch with this natural flow. In their eagerness to achieve, they have forgotten that success is not a goal to be reached, but a vibration that is maintained. And that vibration is maintained through constant action, not through effort. It is in the state of being what you already are, without distraction or doubt, that action gains true power. Every act must be born from a deep understanding that you already are what you wish to be. Action should not be an attempt to change the world, but a reflection of internal transformation. Those who believe themselves to be scarce will act from a place of scarcity, and those who believe themselves to be complete will act from a place of abundance. What you do is a manifestation of who you are, not an effort to be. Sometimes the path is dark and the signs seem cloudy, but each step, taken in faith and trust, gradually reveals the next step. Action, when taken from inner truth, is measured not by its immediate results, but by the purity of the intention with which it is performed. And it is this purity that resonates throughout the universe, creating a response that is always in tune with your inner vibration. It's essential to understand that action is not separate from being. Form is not a struggle to become something, but a natural consequence of who you are. Form is transformed when action is guided by spirit. If your being is aligned with who you already are, the form of your life will be a true reflection of that truth. People often seek external change, but true change happens first within. If you want to transform your world, start by transforming your actions. Every act you take should be an expression of the I am within. When you act from the deepest place within you, there is no obstacle that can prevent you from seeing what you need to see or achieving what you have decided to manifest. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the visible world. It is the language the soul uses to speak to matter. And, as in the mystery of creation, everything begins in silence and is expressed in movement. Form is the echo of the spirit, and everything you do, even in its simplest forms, is imbued with that creative energy. Thus, your actions are sacred because they are the vibration of your being resonating in the universe. Therefore, never underestimate the power of action. No matter how small or large the step, whether it's a simple everyday action or a major life decision. If it comes from the right place, if it arises from the deepest I am, its power is infinite. The key is to act without fear, without the doubt that stops the flow. And most importantly, to act without attachment to the outcome. Because when the soul is in motion, destiny itself is reconfigured. Remember that life doesn't expect you to be perfect to respond. Life responds to who you are now, to who you are willing to be. Every action you take from your authentic self is a step toward fulfilling your destiny. Because destiny isn't something you achieve, it's something you express. Don't seek results, seek to be. And in being, the path to everything you've ever imagined opens. Acting from I Am is living from the center of your being, without distraction, without waiting. It is a continuous flow of energy, a constant affirmation of the power you possess. And in doing so, you become a conscious instrument of creation, holding the entire universe in your hands. Chapter 9. The Faith That Shapes the World. Faith is not simply an act of waiting in the face of uncertainty, but the first step toward the materialization of being. It is the invisible substance that sustains the visible, the profound heartbeat that connects being to creation itself. Those who have faith do not simply believe in what they cannot see, but know, deep within, that what has been declared already exists. Faith, in its purest form, is the certainty that everything you are and everything you seek is already present within the infinite field of being. This certainty is not an empty affirmation, but a vibration that resonates in the depths of your being, beyond the senses, beyond reason. Faith is the acceptance that being is the source of all you can become. And this acceptance is not a passive act, but an active force that transforms reality from within. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the overcoming of uncertainty through inner certainty. Doubts will arise, like passing clouds in an immense sky, but those who walk in faith know that these clouds are only part of the landscape. They don't dwell on them. They don't give them power. Because faith doesn't depend on what you see, but on what you know. And you know deep down that you already are what you seek. When you say, I am, you do so from a place of profound faith, a recognition of your connection to the infinite essence. Faith is fueled by this recognition, by the understanding that there is no separation between you and the universe. The moment you affirm who you are, creation itself begins to reconfigure itself to align with that truth. Faith, then, is not something you have, but something you are. And in being faith, you become a channel of creation, a vehicle of manifestation in the material world. But this faith isn't simply blind faith. It's a faith that's reflected in your actions, a faith that's measured by what you do, by how willingly you surrender to the flow of life. True faith isn't just empty words, unfulfilled promises. Faith is proven in action. With every step you take, with every action you perform, you are declaring who you are and what you are capable of creating. Faith is the seed, but action is the water that nourishes it. Faith without action is like an untended garden. The seeds remain buried, waiting for the touch of light to grow. Therefore, those who have faith in themselves don't sit still, waiting for miracles to arrive. They move, and in their movement, the universe adjusts. Because faith doesn't require visible evidence. It only needs the unshakable confidence that what is already invisible will manifest in the right time and space. This faith is more than a simple wish. It's the certainty that you already have everything you need to fulfill your destiny. Sometimes the manifestation process isn't immediate, but each step you take brings you closer to manifesting who you are at your core. It's not about forcing outcomes, but about fully trusting that, as you act from your core, the results will align with your vibration. Without faith, I am remains empty words. Without faith, the declaration I am loses its creative power. But when faith is combined with action, I am becomes a transformative force that shapes reality itself. Throughout the history of being, faith has been the bridge between spirit and matter, between dream and manifestation. Faith is the energy that connects the invisible with the visible, the eternal with the temporal. It sustains vision before it materializes. Those who have faith see beyond the superficial appearance of things. They see the hidden potential, what is not yet, but is about to emerge. Faith sees the tree in the seed, the building in the plans, the future in the present. Faith isn't static. It's dynamic, fluid. It's nourished by action and strengthened by every act of courage. Faith isn't expressed only in life's big decisions, but in the small moments, in the way you face each challenge, in the way you choose to live each day. When you act with faith, it doesn't matter how big or small the action. Every action becomes an affirmation of your power, a declaration of who you already are. Every time you wake up, breathe, or make a decision, you are declaring through faith that you trust yourself and the process of life. Every action becomes an act of creation, because faith not only waits, but also knows. It knows that action is the key that unlocks the potential dormant in the universe. Faith doesn't doubt the worthiness of your steps, even if you sometimes don't see the path clearly before you. In its trust, it guides you without you even knowing it. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, responds to that faith. And it does so not because it sees you as a weak being in need of help, but because in your faith, the universe recognizes the vibration of what already is. It is not empty faith that moves mountains, but complete faith. Faith rooted in the heart, in the certainty of being. Whoever has faith in the invisible becomes a channel for the invisible to become visible. And as you walk in faith, you discover that faith not only transforms external circumstances, but also transforms you. Because true faith begins within you, in your heart, in your conscience. When you act from faith, you align yourself with the eternal truth of your being, and that truth projects itself out into the world. Everything you do becomes an extension of that faith, an emanation of the inner force that connects you to all that is. This is the power of faith. It not only creates the future, but also reveals the present. It invites us to look at the world with new eyes, to see the magic in the everyday, to recognize the divine in the simplest. Faith is not an isolated act, but a way of life. Those who live in faith live in a constant state of creation, in continuous vibration with the universe. In every moment, faith reminds you that what you already are is enough, and that through you, all things are possible. Before continuing with the video, if you want to read I Am Who I Am, The Power of I Am, I recommend you watch the first link in the description. Chapter 10. The Silent Force of Thought. In the vast fabric of creation, thought is the needle that weaves destiny. It is not a trivial act, nor a simple mental action. Thought is an energy, a subtle force that permeates everything you are and everything you see. What you think, even without being aware of it, has the power to shape the universe you inhabit. Thought is the seed of action, the spark that initiates every process, the vibration that drives creation. Every thought is a tiny particle of energy released into the infinite field of possibilities. Like the wind blowing through a field of flowers, every thought touches and shapes the circumstances around you. And although you may think your thoughts are invisible and harmless, the truth is that they are the invisible architects of your reality. The power of thought lies in its ability to influence the vibrations you emit, to alter the course of the energy flowing through you. Thought is such a potent force that it has the power to reconfigure not only your experience, but the very structure of the world around you. Every time you think, you are not simply describing a reality, you are creating one. Thought is not limited to the present moment. It has the power to transcend time. Thoughts are seeds that germinate in the future, projecting their roots into space and time. Sow thoughts of abundance and prosperity today, and you will reap their fruit in the near future, because thought is the beginning of the process of manifestation. It is the first brick of the house you are building. Just as I am is a declaration of being, thought is a declaration of potential. A positive thought, aligned with your essential being, acts like a magnet, attracting to you everything that vibrates with it. A negative thought, however, becomes a block, a barrier that impedes the natural flow of life. Thinking in terms of limitation or scarcity is like building a prison in which you yourself become trapped. What you think is not just yours, but part of a vast energy field that connects everything. Every thought you have sends waves into that field, which responds accordingly. The laws of quantum physics confirm this. Everything is energy, and energy responds to the vibrations you emit. Think of a wish for success, and all the energy around you reorganizes to make that wish a reality. However, thought is not something that can be completely controlled by willpower. The human mind is full of erratic thoughts, doubts and fears, and judgments that arise without warning. But, just as a gardener tends his garden, you can also tend your thoughts. Plant thoughts that are fertile, that contribute to your growth. Recognize those that don't serve you, those that limit you, and let them dissolve like fog before the sun. The art of the mind is the art of awareness. It's not about controlling everything you think, but about being aware of what's forming within you. Every thought is an opportunity to affirm who you truly are, to align yourself with your highest vision. When you become an observer of your thoughts, you begin to understand their power. You are no longer a slave to the mind, but its master. Thought is also a tool of collective creation. Through the connection between the minds of all people, thoughts intertwine and merge into global consciousness. The ideas we share, the beliefs we hold, the emotions we feel, all of this is transmitted from one mind to another. This collective force has the power to create great movements, both toward light and toward darkness. And it is in our ability to think clearly and consciously that lies the power to change not only our lives, but the entire world. Every thought has a purpose beyond the individual mind. Thoughts connect to the thoughts of others, and together they create a shared reality. If all of humanity could align itself with thoughts of peace, love, and abundance, the world would be transformed instantly. The power of thought is so powerful because, like the waves of the ocean, it is not something that can be easily stopped. What is thought strongly becomes a wave that extends beyond oneself. And herein lies one of the keys to the power of thought: coherence. When your thoughts are aligned with your words, your emotions, and your actions, you create a powerful vibration, a frequency that resonates with the universe. The universe doesn't respond to isolated thoughts, but to consistent vibrations. If you think of abundance, but your words are of scarcity, your actions are of limitation, and your emotions are filled with fear, the vibration you emit is weak and contradictory. That's why thought must be accompanied by a firm conviction, a deep belief that what you think is already a reality. It's faith in your thoughts that gives them power. This faith transforms thought into a vibration so strong that it becomes a transformative force, capable of moving mountains. The power of thought is also the power of persistence. It's not enough to think of something once and wait for it to manifest. Creation requires perseverance and patience. A tree doesn't grow in a day. The seeds you plant in your mind need time to germinate, to grow, to bear fruit. The key is to maintain the vibration, to constantly think about the way you want to be, the way you want to see the world. Thus, thought becomes a powerful magnet that attracts circumstances aligned with that frequency. Every thought is a spark of creation, a tiny star in the vast universe of possibilities. And although thoughts may seem ephemeral and fragile, they are actually the foundation upon which we build our being. Plant thoughts of love, of abundance, of peace. Tend to your inner garden with the same devotion that the wisest gardener would, and you will see how creation begins to align with you in your favor. Because in the end, thought not only creates the future, but shapes the present. It's not something you have to wait to see manifest. It's something that's already happening right now, in every thought you choose. And by choosing consciously, the future you desire begins to take shape. Chapter 11. The Alchemy of Emotion. Emotion is the vital current that flows through our being, an invisible river that determines the direction of our lives. It is not simply a response to events in the outside world, but an internal force that has the capacity to transform, uplift, or stagnate, depending on how we manage it. Emotion is the language of the soul, and in its vibration, both the beauty and the darkness of our experience come alive. In the alchemy of being, emotions are precious metals that, when refined, become gold. But, like gold, emotions must be understood and purified before they can manifest their true potential. An emotion is not something to be ignored or repressed. It is a message from your deepest being, a sign of what is happening within you. If you understand the nature of your emotions, you can use them as a tool for internal transformation. Emotions are the energetic response to what you believe, think, and perceive. Each emotion carries with it a specific vibration that, when released into the universe, creates a resonance that influences the field of reality. When you feel fear, sadness, anger, or frustration, you are emitting a low frequency that attracts situations and experiences aligned with that energy. Conversely, when you feel love, gratitude, joy, and compassion, you generate a high vibration that connects with abundance and opportunity. The key to the alchemy of emotion lies in understanding that emotions are not enemies to be defeated, but rather forces to be understood and transmuted. Alchemy does not consist of eliminating negative emotions, but rather transforming them, elevating them to the highest level of consciousness. Just as gold is obtained from raw stone through a process of heat and refinement, the densest emotions can be transformed into something purer through awareness and inner transformation. The first step in emotional alchemy is acceptance. You cannot transform what you don't accept. It's essential that you allow yourself to feel what you feel without judgment. Repression only creates resistance, and resistance is what perpetuates pain. When you allow your emotions to flow without resisting them, you begin to understand their deeper message. If you feel sad, don't fight that sadness. Accept it as part of your human experience. If you feel fear, don't deny it. Face it and allow its truth to reveal itself. Only in acceptance can you begin to transmute. Once you've accepted the emotion, the next step is understanding. Emotions always have a message to convey. Fear, for example, shows you where you're choosing uncertainty over trust. Sadness invites you to let go of what no longer serves you, to heal what's still broken. Every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, is a guide to your evolution, a beacon illuminating the path to transformation. The third step in emotional alchemy is release. As you understand the emotion's message, you can release it. Release doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing it, but rather letting it go, allowing it to dissolve into consciousness, recognizing that it has already served its purpose. It's like a cloud passing across the sky. We don't grasp it, we simply observe it and let it take its course. Release is the key to inner peace, for only when you let go of what no longer serves can you make room for new emotions, new energies, new vibrations. The final step of emotional alchemy is transmutation. This is where the magic truly shines, taking the emotion in its purest form, understanding its essence, and then transforming it into something higher. Fear can be turned into courage, sadness into compassion, anger into creative passion. This is the power of being mindful. You can take any emotion and, through mindful practice, elevate it, transmute it, and return it to the universe as a higher, purer, more powerful energy. This process of transmutation is not just a mental act. It's an energetic process, a dance between body, mind, and spirit. Every emotion has its own energetic resonance, and by elevating it, you not only transform your internal experience, but also change the vibration of the world around you. When emotion is purified, it becomes a creative force, capable of attracting the best the universe has to offer. What we often ignore is that emotions have a life of their own. They feed on our attention, our energy. If you constantly feed the emotions of lack, scarcity, and fear, you will attract more of the same. If, on the other hand, you feed the emotions of gratitude, trust, and hope, you will be tuning into a frequency of abundance and success. Emotion is the field in which you sow your thoughts. Sow seeds of love, faith, and joy, and you will see how they flourish in your life. This process of emotional alchemy is also deeply personal. Each individual has their own internal alchemy, their own blockages, their own ways of experiencing the emotional world. Not all fears are the same. Not all sadness is the same. Therefore, the transmutation process will be unique for each person. But the key lies in practice, in commitment to the process of internal transformation. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. The alchemy of emotion becomes an art, a path to emotional mastery, a path to inner peace and freedom. Emotional freedom is the freedom to be who you are in your entirety, without being tied to the emotions of the past, without being conditioned by fears or traumas. It is the ability to be present with all your emotions, to feel without being controlled by them, to transform any emotion into creative energy. And that is true alchemy. Being able to take what seems negative, what seems destructive, and turn it into something positive, into something that uplifts you. Remember, alchemy is not a quick or superficial process. It is a profound art that requires patience, awareness, and, above all, love. But if you dedicate yourself to the practice, if you allow yourself to feel and transform each emotion, you will discover that you are the magician of your own life, capable of creating the reality you desire with the power of your emotions. Chapter 12. The Wisdom of Silence. In the infinite dance of creation, silence is the space where everything is born. It is the presence behind the word, the emptiness that precedes manifestation. It is not the absence of sound, but the primordial vibration from which everything we know arises. Silence is not passivity. It is the intelligence that organizes chaos, the stillness that prepares the ground for action. The moment a person enters into silence, they encounter the depths of their own essence. External noise and scattered thoughts dissipate, and what remains is pure awareness, without interference, without expectations, only being in its most essential form. In this state of deep silence, one can hear the answers emerging from within, the answers that the conditioned mind is unable to grasp. This silence is not simply the absence of physical sound. It is a quality of being that transcends the mind. When one sits in silence and allows one's mind to quiet, one opens to the possibility of perceiving a dimension beyond the limitations of thought. This silence is the language of the soul, and in it, the deepest truths about who we are and where we are going are revealed. The noisy, stimulus-saturated modern world often distances us from this sacred space. We live in constant turmoil, running from one place to another, seeking answers outside ourselves, while true knowledge resides in silence. Every time you immerse yourself in this space, even for a moment, you are recognizing your connection to the eternal, to the source of all that is. Silence is the first step toward wisdom. In it, everything becomes clear. In it, there are no judgments or opinions, only the unadorned, undistorted truth. The mind dissolves into stillness, and only pure essence remains, that consciousness that lies beyond identity, the past, and the future. And from that space, you can create with complete clarity, for nothing interferes with your vision of being. It is a state of total receptivity, where the ego dissolves and the heart opens to the infinity of the present moment. When you seek answers, don't seek them in noise. Don't seek them in the outside world. Seek them in silence, in the deep stillness that resides at the depths of your being. That is where universal knowledge resides. The mind can seek and seek, but only in silence does it find true knowledge. Silence is not empty, but a fertile field where wisdom can germinate. This inner silence is what allows you to hear the whisper of intuition, that voice that arises from the soul and guides you toward truth. Often the mind is so full of thoughts that it is difficult to distinguish between the voice of the ego and the voice of the self. The ego will speak to you of fears, doubts, and limitations. The self, on the other hand, will speak to you of possibilities, of expansion, of unity. Only in silence can you hear that clear and pure voice that directs you toward your highest purpose. There is a profound wisdom in this silence, a wisdom that transcends intellectual knowledge. It is the kind of wisdom that cannot be taught with words, because it goes beyond concepts. It is the wisdom of the heart, a profound understanding that doesn't need to be explained, only lived. When you sit in silence, don't look for immediate answers. Don't force them. Allow yourself to simply be and observe how the answers begin to emerge from a place deep within. The wisdom of silence also reminds us that we don't need to be doing all the time. The world pushes us to be constantly in action, to always be busy. But silence teaches us that being is not defined by action, but by presence. True creation is not born from desperation or the desire to do, but from the stillness of being. In this state, creation flows naturally, effortlessly, without struggle. Everything aligns without forcing anything. It's important for us to recognize that silence is a refuge where we can regenerate, a sacred place where we leave the noise of the world behind and immerse ourselves in the source. This is the space where we recover our vital energy, where we renew our connection with the divine. By finding time for silence, we cultivate the inner peace and mental clarity necessary to navigate life with serenity. This is the gift of practicing silence, the ability to be present in the here and now. Silence allows you to release the burden of your thoughts and worries, returning you to the peace of your essential being. From this place of calm, you become a conscious observer of your thoughts, your emotions, and external circumstances without being swept away by them. This is true freedom, the ability to be, simply be, in the flow of the present moment. Silence should not be seen as an absence of activity, but as a space filled with infinite possibilities. In this silence, everything you have been and everything you will be converges into a single point, the now. This is the place where intentions become seeds, where creativity sprouts, where love expands. Silence is the fertile ground in which the awareness of your divine being is sown. In daily practice, silence can be found in simple moments. It's not just about sitting in meditation, although this is powerful, but about learning to find those moments of stillness amidst the hustle and bustle of the day. A few minutes of conscious breathing, a pause between activities, a solitary walk without any distractions. These can be ways to reconnect with silence. The key is to make space for that stillness in your life, to allow the self to express itself without interference. Finally, remember that silence is an act of love for yourself. It is the recognition that, in the midst of everything you do, there is always a place within you where you can rest, where you can return to yourself. This is the gift that silence gives you, the opportunity to come home, to return to your essence, to be one with all that you are and all that you have come to be. Chapter 13. The Power of the Present. The present is the only moment we truly possess, the only reality in which we live, the only door open to creation. Everything we seek is here, in this moment. Everything we desire is waiting to be recognized in the consciousness of now. Time, as we know it, is an illusion. The past no longer exists. The future has not yet arrived, and all we have in our hands is the here and now. The power of the present lies in its simplicity and infinity. The present is not conditioned by the memories of the past or the fears of the future. It is a clean, pure space where everything can happen without the limitations of the mind. Yet, we live so trapped in the illusion of what was and what will be that we forget this moment of power. It is in the present that everything is decided, where everything is transformed, where life reveals itself in its full splendor. By being present, we align with our essential nature. This is the point of power, the crucible where our intentions, our emotions, our actions are forged. In the present, we can remember who we are, without the distortions of the ego or the expectations of the future. We can simply be who we are, whole and perfect, just as we are. This is the first step to manifesting the reality we desire, returning to the present, to the place where creation begins. Human beings are constantly searching for something more success, more happiness, more love. But in this search, we forget that everything we need is already within us, in the present. Abundance, peace, and fulfillment are already part of our essence. By focusing on the present, we can access all of this. The mind, with its constant dance of thoughts, pulls us toward what we haven't experienced or what is no longer there. But when we manage to free the mind and return to the present, we find that access to true wealth is already within our grasp. Being present is an act of surrender, not struggle. It's not about forcing our attention, but rather allowing ourselves to flow with the natural rhythm of life. It's in this flow that magic happens, where opportunities present themselves, where peace and joy are found. When we resist this flow, we distance ourselves from what we truly want. We forget our connection to the universe, our innate ability to create. The power of the present lies in the awareness that, by being ourselves in the now, we align ourselves with the universe and allow everything that is meant for us to flow naturally. This power is not something you conquer, but something you remember. The mind is constantly busy seeking something outside itself, but when the mind becomes still and established in the present, it discovers that it needs nothing. It is already complete. It is already at peace. It already is. The present is a state of total acceptance. Accepting this moment as it is, without trying to change or improve it, is liberating. It allows us to be in harmony with life as it presents itself, without judgment or interference. To access the power of the present, we need to free ourselves from the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. We cannot change what has been, nor can we control what will come. All we truly have is the now. When we stop fighting the present, we begin to live in its natural flow. Worries about the future lose their power, and the imprints of the past no longer drag us down. All we need to do is surrender to this moment, accept what is, and open ourselves to the infinite possibility it offers. This act of surrender is not a surrender of weakness, but of wisdom. It is recognizing that we cannot control everything, but that we have the ability to choose how to respond to what happens. By being mindful of the present moment, we stop being victims of circumstances and become conscious creators of our reality. Strength lies in acceptance, in recognizing that this moment is perfect just as it is. By living from this place, our actions become more aligned with our true nature and with the laws of the universe. The present, therefore, is the point of creation. Everything we desire, be it peace, love, success, abundance, or clarity, is available in this moment. By realizing this, we can let go of the expectation that happiness lies in an uncertain future. Happiness lies not in what we have not yet achieved, but in what we already are in this moment. This is the gift of the present. It allows us to be happy now, without needing to wait for anything. As we immerse ourselves more deeply in the present, we begin to perceive the truth of our existence. We are no longer separate from the world. We become part of it. We are no longer passive subjects waiting for life to happen. We are active co-creators influencing every moment. Connection to the now connects us to all others, to the totality of existence. And in this space, life ceases to be a challenge to overcome and becomes a divine dance to be simply enjoyed. There's no better time than this. There's no place more perfect than this moment, where everything we need is available. The past is just a story we've created in our minds, and the future is just a projection of our thoughts. The only real thing is the present, and it's here that everything is decided. If you've ever felt lost, if you've ever searched for answers without knowing where to find them, remember that all you need to do is return to the present. Here, in this moment, you can find all the answers you've been searching for. Wisdom is within you, waiting to be revealed. Peace is within you, waiting to be experienced. Abundance is within you, waiting to be manifested. You just have to allow yourself to be here, now, fully present. Chapter 14. The Grace of Silence. In a world that never stops talking, silence becomes a sacred refuge. The noise of voices, other people's opinions, and endless thoughts can drown out the essence of who we are. But when we allow ourselves to embrace silence, we discover a deeper dimension within ourselves, where the peace we so yearn for resides. Silence is not empty. It is the space in which all creation is born. It is the stillness that precedes movement. It is the stillness that gives life to the word, the rest that allows the soul to recharge. We cannot hear the melody of life if we are constantly busy, filled with noise, both internal and external. True wisdom is not found in words, but in the silence that precedes them. It is there that we can hear the voice of our deepest being, that voice that speaks not with sounds, but with a subtle vibration that resonates in the heart. In silence, we connect with the totality of the universe. Everything that exists in life has its origin in silence. Silence is not simply the absence of sound, but the full presence of what is. When we learn to be silent, we discover that everything we need is already here, already within us, in the unseen space, in the unseen moment. Silence leads us to the essential, to the eternal. It allows us to see beyond distractions, inviting us to look within ourselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of constant action, of the need to do, of running after the next achievement, the next goal. But in that race, we forget what truly matters. True transformation happens not in doing, but in being. Being is revealed in silence. In this space, without words, without interrupting thoughts, the essence of who we are is revealed in its purity. And by connecting with that essence, we can begin to create from a place of clarity and authenticity. Silence is not absence, it is presence. It is the space where the soul expands, where the answers to our deepest questions emerge. Silence is the teacher who guides us without saying a single word. In it, solutions appear, visions become clear, and decisions flow effortlessly. When we are present in silence, we begin to perceive the truth behind the illusion, the essence of every moment, the invisible force that gives life to everything that exists. The mind, by nature, is accustomed to noise. It's always looking for something to occupy its attention, always agitated, always in need of immediate answers. But in silence, the mind finds its rest. In silence, it quiets and opens to new possibilities. The more we practice this silence, the more we will learn to listen to our inner voice. That voice that knows what it needs, what we truly are, what we truly desire. Silence is, therefore, a tool of self-discovery. It is in its profound stillness that our deepest truths emerge to the surface. In its stillness, we begin to understand who we are beyond the image the world has created for us. By immersing ourselves in silence, we let go of other people's expectations and discover our true nature, our true voice, which does not need external validation. The truth is not found in the voices around us, but in the silent voice within us. Through silence, we can also learn to let go. Let go of control. Let go of fear. Let go of judgment. Let go of everything that binds us to the past or projects us into the future. Silence teaches us to live without clinging to what was or what could be. It invites us to live in the present, to be present with ourselves and with life as it is, without the distortions the mind often imposes. And by letting go, we become lighter, freer, more capable of living with a clear mind and an open heart. But silence isn't found solely in external stillness. It also resides in internal stillness, in the calm of our mind and heart. It's within that silence becomes a place of power. It's not just about avoiding external noise, but about creating a space within ourselves, a space where thoughts dissipate, where fears dissolve, where only peace remains. When we cultivate this inner silence, we begin to understand that we don't need immediate answers, that we don't need to do anything to be. We already are. We are already whole. We are already everything we need to be. And in that knowing, in that recognition of our wholeness, lies the power to transform our lives. We no longer depend on external circumstances to feel complete, because we have found fulfillment within ourselves. And when we feel complete, everything we seek begins to come to us effortlessly. Silence also teaches us to listen to others. In a world where everyone talks, few truly listen. The true act of listening is not just hearing another person's words, but feeling the essence behind those words. Silence allows us to listen from the heart, to understand not only what is being said, but what is not being said, what lies beyond words. And by listening with this kind of attention, we connect deeply with others, creating a bond beyond words. The grace of silence is that, in its presence, everything else makes sense. Everything aligns, everything resolves, everything becomes clear. There's no need to force anything, to do anything. Just be. Just be. And in that being, in that stillness, the universe begins to respond, to guide us, to show us the way. All we need to do is be open, be receptive, and allow silence to transform us. Chapter 15. The Dance of Synchronicity. Life is not a simple accident, nor a sequence of aimless events. Everything has a purpose, a profound meaning that unfolds before us in ways we often don't immediately understand. Synchronicity, that invisible dance that intertwines moments and experiences, is proof that the universe has a larger plan for each of us, one that transcends time and space. In every encounter, in every coincidence, there is a divine spark that reminds us that everything is connected, that nothing is random. We live in a world that moves at breakneck speed, where days pass like leaves blown by the wind. But if we pay attention, we can see how the puzzle pieces of our lives come together in a beautiful pattern. Synchronicity isn't something that can be forced, but when we are aligned with our essence, when our mind and heart are open, the signs of the universe begin to become evident. Like a serenely flowing river, synchronicity guides us throughout our journey, showing us that we are not alone, that we are not victims of chance. Some call this fate, others call it coincidence. But at its core, synchronicity is a revelation of the oneness of all creation. It's as if the universe speaks in whispers, through the events and people that appear in our lives at the exact moments we need them most. The perfect timing of events is not a product of chaos, but of a higher intelligence unfolding, sometimes in mysterious ways, but always with a clarity that only time can reveal. The key is to be present. Synchronicity cannot be found in the future or the past. It only exists in the present moment. If we are absorbed in the memories of yesterday or overly concerned about tomorrow, we will miss the signs the universe places before us. Every step we take, every breath we take, is full of signs, messages waiting to be heard. The universe never stops communicating with us. It is there, in every corner, waiting to be discovered. We often look for answers outside ourselves, in the noise of the world. But the truth is that the answers have always been within us. And when we align with our inner selves, we begin to recognize the signs of the universe as the imprints of our own soul. Synchronicity is found not only in life's big moments, but also in the little details, in a casual conversation, in a shared glance, in a feeling that can't be explained. It's as if the universe infiltrates the mundane, the everyday, to reveal something much greater. Coincidences are not accidents. They are manifestations of the divine connection that unites us all. Every action, every thought, every word we speak sends a vibration out into the universe, and that echo returns to us in surprising ways. It's as if every thought we cultivate, every intention we sow, creates a ripple effect that is reflected in the reality we live. Nothing happens by chance. Every moment is imbued with profound wisdom, if only we know how to look at it with the eyes of the heart. Synchronicity is the language of the soul, and when we begin to listen to this language, to interpret the symbols and signs presented to us, we realize that we are being guided constantly. We may not always understand the path immediately, but if we trust in the dance of synchronicity, we soon discover that every step we take leads us toward our deepest purpose. The universe does not abandon us. It is constantly opening doors, placing people, situations, and opportunities in our path to help us grow and evolve. Sometimes, the path may seem uncertain, filled with obstacles, but synchronicity doesn't always manifest itself in a linear fashion. It may appear in the form of challenges that, at first glance, seem to contradict our vision of what should be. But these moments are part of the divine flow that carries us toward expansion. Every difficulty has a hidden purpose. Every test is an opportunity to align more deeply with our truth. The art of synchronicity lies in trust. In trusting that everything that is happening is part of a divine plan, even if we don't always understand it. Life doesn't always follow the path we imagine, but if we allow ourselves to be guided by synchronicity, we discover that, in the end, the destiny that awaits us is much greater than we had dreamed. Every coincidence is a reminder that we are exactly where we need to be, and that every step we take brings us closer to fulfilling our purpose. The secret lies in surrender. Synchronicity cannot be forced. It's not about controlling the flow of life, but rather about surrendering to it with trust. In doing so, we become a channel for the universe to work through us. We let the river of life carry us, knowing that every current, every eddy, every pause is an integral part of the journey. Synchronicity also teaches us to let go of control. Fear of the future, the need to know what will happen, distances us from the natural flow of life. When we live in fear, we close ourselves off from the opportunities that synchronicity offers us. But when we let go of that control, when we accept the mystery of life, doors open. The universe, then, acts as an invisible teacher, leading us by the hand toward our destiny. When we learn to live in harmony with synchronicity, we realize that everything in life has a purpose. Even the people who cross our paths, even the seemingly trivial moments. Everything is connected. Everything has a profound meaning. Synchronicity is the dance of the universe, and we are the dancers, moving to the rhythm of an eternal music that guides us toward our most authentic selves. Chapter 16. The Neurology of I Am. In the vast universe of the human mind, identity is forged not only through lived experiences, but also through the repetition of the words we say to ourselves. The affirmations we utter, the beliefs we adopt, and the emotions we feel are all deeply etched into our psyche. However, what many people don't know is that the brain doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is constantly repeated. In fact, repetition holds one of the most powerful keys to transformation. What we say to ourselves, and how we say it, has the power to reconfigure not only our perception, but the very structure of our brain. The neuroscience behind this phenomenon is astonishing. The brain, like a vast, fertile soil, is shaped by the seeds of our words and thoughts. Every time we utter a statement like, "I am incapable," "I am useless," or "I will never achieve this," we are giving a direct instruction to our subconscious mind. There is no filter, no questioning. The subconscious receives this order as a mandate and adjusts our mental, emotional, and physical state to align with that belief. It's as if your mind, in its immense wisdom, believes everything you tell it, even if it's a lie. What's happening here is a biological phenomenon known as neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt to new experiences and learning. In other words, your brain isn't permanently fixed. It has the power to change and evolve. Every time we express a new affirmation, we're not just conjuring words. We're creating new neural pathways, weaving new thought paths that can eventually replace old limiting beliefs. This is why affirmations are so powerful. But it's not enough to simply repeat them mechanically. The key lies in emotional repetition. Saying, "I am worthy," isn't just an empty declaration. It's an act of internal reprogramming. Every time you repeat these words with emotion and conviction, you are imprinting new patterns into the very structure of your brain. It's as if, at first, your mind doubts this new identity, but with each emotionally charged repetition, it begins to assimilate it as a new truth. Through this repetition, the brain begins to adapt, forming new connections and strengthening those aligned with this new self. Think of it as an operating system that, upon receiving new instructions, changes its code. Old software, burdened with insecurities and limitations, begins to be replaced by new pathways of possibility and confidence. In this process, it's essential to understand that the subconscious mind doesn't discriminate between positive and negative, between real and imagined. When you affirm, "I am a failure," the brain accepts it as reality. Similarly, if you affirm, "I am capable," that new reality begins to take shape. This is the magic of neuroplasticity, but also its greatest challenge. The mind can't distinguish between a lie and a truth. It only knows that what is repeated becomes reality. Real transformation, therefore, comes not only from the awareness of these affirmations, but from action. True transformation occurs when we take the affirmations and embody them. The mind and body must align with this new identity, and this doesn't happen only at the mental level. Every action, every thought, every emotion must be a representation of the person we are choosing to be. On this path of reconfiguration, tools for reprogramming our beliefs are essential. One of the most powerful techniques is the mirror technique. Standing in front of a mirror, looking directly into our own eyes, we say our affirmations with complete presence and conviction. This practice activates the emotional centers of the brain, which enhances the impact of our words. At this point, the affirmation becomes more than just a superficial statement. It becomes an emotionally meaningful experience that begins to diffuse shame, judgment, and self-doubt. Another powerful tool is the affirmation reversal technique. If we've been caught in a cycle of negative thoughts, the first thing to do is identify them and then reframe them. If our habitual affirmation is, "I'm not enough," we can stop and say, "That's an old story. I now choose to say, I am more than enough." This technique activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for conscious decision-making, helping us alter old thought patterns and replace them with new, empowering beliefs. Identity journaling is another essential exercise. By writing 3 to 5 affirmations each day that reflect our new identity, we are not just repeating words, but creating evidence in our daily lives that we are who we say we are. This exercise reinforces the belief that we are capable, resilient, loving, and deserving. By documenting small accomplishments, such as, "I am focused because I completed my project yesterday," our minds begin to accept these small moments as evidence of the new identity we are cultivating. Finally, identity-anchored visualization allows the mind to see and feel our future selves, living the life we desire. This practice isn't just a mental exercise, it's an act of embodiment. By visualizing the future and saying, "I am that person now," we are sending a clear message to our subconscious mind. The future isn't something we wait for. It's something we are already choosing to be now. The key to this process lies in repetition and emotion. Repeating affirmations without emotion is like planting a seed without watering it. The brain needs to feel that what we affirm is true, and that feeling comes from emotion. Emotion, by releasing neurochemicals like dopamine and acetylcholine, enhances the creation of new neural connections, facilitating the reprogramming of our minds. Remember, you don't need to fight your old beliefs. Just stop feeding them. Stop giving them energy. Every time you say, "I am worthy," you're reinforcing a new story, a new narrative that replaces the old one. Every word you say has the power to create your reality. This is the power of the identity declaration. What you say about yourself becomes your reality. So by choosing the words that build your identity, by living from the future you desire, you are taking control of your destiny, knowing that the most powerful thing you can say is, "I am." Because in these 2 words lies creation itself. What will you choose to create today? If you've come this far, it's because you want to learn more about I Am Who I Am, the power of I Am. If so, I recommend you check out the first link in the description. Chapter 17. Living from the Future. There is an ancient teaching whispered by the sages of all time, a truth carried by the wind and heard even in the silence by the most attentive heart. You don't attract what you desire, you attract what you are. This is the unwritten law of all true manifestation, the veiled secret that transforms the seeker into a creator and the spectator into the architect of their destiny. For countless years, we've believed the future is a distant land, a tomorrow that will arrive when conditions are right, when fortune decides to smile upon us, or when chance bestows its blessing upon us. However, the future is not a distant goal. The future is a frequency, and you can inhabit it now. To be is to arrive. To be is to accomplish. To be is to possess before having. The entire universe responds not to what you ask for, but to what you embody. The vibration of your current identity, your most repeated thoughts, the emotions you hold in your chest, and the words you speak day after day shape the reality you inhabit. Thus, if you wish to transform your outer world, you must first alter the landscape of your inner world. It's not enough to know it. You must live from that future. Ask yourself, how would the version of me who has already achieved her dreams walk? How would she speak? How would she breathe? With what certainty would she regard each sunrise? Start adopting that posture, that language, that rhythm of life, as if everything you've dreamed of already belonged to you. Because when you walk from certainty and not from lack, when you speak from possession and not from expectation, the universe has no choice but to reflect back to you that version of yourself that you have chosen to embody. Vibrating like the future you yearn for is collapsing possibilities into the now. Quantum physics understands that time is not a straight line, but a field of infinite probabilities that organize themselves around those who observe with clear intention. Every thought you have, every word you speak out loud, is an act of creation that determines which version of reality materializes around you. Therefore, when you say, "I want abundance," the echo that resonates in the universe is one of absence. However, when you say, "I am abundant," the frequency changes. You are not asking. You are affirming. You are not waiting. You are claiming what is already yours by natural right, simply by being part of this vast, universal consciousness. It's not about pretending. It's about pre-living, walking with the lightness of mind of someone who already possesses what they yearn for, giving thanks before receiving, acting like someone who already inhabits that higher version of themselves. Remember, the world doesn't react to what you desire, but to what you embody. So, every day, make your walk a silent declaration. I am that version of myself that already lives in fullness, in health, in love, in wealth, and in purpose. Feel how this new state permeates your thoughts, your gestures, your voice, and your gaze. Stay on that wavelength. Don't wait to see to believe. Believe, and then you'll see. The universe is attentive. Creative energy dances around you, waiting for clear instructions. Allow your affirmations, your visualizations, and your way of being in the world to be an unequivocal instruction of what you are willing to receive. And if this teaching has resonated with you, if deep down you know that this is the time to claim your divine right to live in abundance, certainty, and fulfillment, I invite you to be part of our community. Subscribe to the Wealth Collection channel, where every message, every word, and every reflection is meant to remind you of who you are, elevate your consciousness, and accompany you on this journey toward the conscious manifestation of an extraordinary life. Because you deserve more than to survive. You deserve to flourish. Click, join, share this path, and together we can rewrite the history of what's possible. I am wealth. I am plenitude. I am now.